Here again, my name is Lance Smith. I am the CEO of Primary Data. We've broken our presentation down into three groups. I'm going to give you a bit of an update, an overview of Primary Data. A lot of folks know who we are. We have a few other new data points about the markets that we are focused on, our customers that we are targeting. Give you a bit of background on that. Then I'll turn it over to David for the full technical discussion. So technical questions, start firing away to David when his session comes up, and then we have an updated demo for everyone with Casey Lai, who is our SVP of Sales, and hopefully give you a picture of where we stand as a company today. All right. As a bit of a background, we are an emerging enterprise technology company. We first came out of stealth mode about a year and a half ago. And at that time, we announced our founders and the additions to our company, which included myself and Steve Wozniak. And if you recognize the group of names, most folks saw it as the band getting back together, because this is the same organization that brought you Fusion.io. That really advanced technology that brought NAND flash to enterprise with a level of performance and reliability that's never been seen before. And since then, we launched our first platform utilizing data virtualization. Now, our goal and our focus is to change data center economics. Now, it could come in many, many forms. The first one that we showed was the fact that we could take existing storage, make it VIVO capable using a universal VASA provider. And last year, September, we showed a number of demonstrations, including taking multiple different vendors' NAS filers, combining them together, running it under vSphere 6, using this VASA interface. Our next announcement of our platform was just last month at EMC World, where we liked this idea of data lakes, where EMC said, look, you could take Isilon and take the reaches of that storage all the way to the edge. We said, hey, we need to take it one step further. What about the other types of storage that EMC has, where you have storage within the server itself? So we took Scale.io. This is the hyperconverged solution, connected it up with Isilon, and connected that up with the storage over the cloud using Amazon S3. That demonstration showed that our platform is capable of taking no matter what type of storage and extend it into a single global data space, so our customers can actually make use of either different types of storage or different storage from different vendors. We're headquartered in Los Altos. We do have development centers around the world that continues to grow as a company. But I need to take a step back real quick. And I mentioned Fusion.io, and this is where the idea of primary data came from. When we created our I/O drive and we were able to get an amazing amount of performance out of flash, we take it to a customer, and every time we had to work through the decision buying point with this customer, we would show the low latency, the amazing amount of bandwidth. You stick it into the server. The problem was that the applications are not storage aware. So you have to take your files, put it onto the flash or certain files, then take the application, configure it to point towards those files or towards the Fusion.io drive, and then power this thing up. And that worked fabulously. People could get 10x of application level performance, or if they wanted to, they could dial it down and say, you know what, I can consolidate the number of servers. But what we found was it was a manual heavy lift every time we had to take a new storage technology and bring it into an enterprise account. Well, now the problem's got a little worse. Now we have cheap and deep in the cloud. Right? Now we have all these different types of services. Maybe there was a bit of a stutter at the beginning of storage in the cloud, security and availability and so forth, but that's changing and getting better, and now it is an option in enterprise to make use of it, whether it's taking cold data or dropping your overall cost or backup or archival. In the meantime, they still have the existing shared storage that's within the same infrastructure. So for primary data, we wanted to see if we could take and combine all of them so that an application, without having to be rewritten or manually reconfigured, can make best use of the types of storage that either an enterprise customer wants to get to or they already have within their infrastructure, and to do so without being disruptive to the app. Because we all know that we'd have to stop the app, move data, point the app towards the new storage, and then take whatever that benefit is, whether it's low latency and a high bandwidth or it's low cost. That different type of storage, we view it as a spectrum of types of storage, whether it's flash in a server, or converged, hyper-converged storage solutions to scale both compute and storage, all-flash arrays, be it block or file, shared NAS or SAN storage, and then of course storage in the cloud. The effective results is that data ends up getting siloed. So these different types of storages are forcing IT to make a decision to align storage needs to compute. And this is a paradigm or a problem that's existed since the dawn of computing. You got your compute resources, you connect a dedicated storage, and you're done. You keep it reinstantiating. That unfortunately starts to produce some other problems. Now, as evidence of this, about a month ago or so, we revealed the results of an enterprise-level storage census. So we went to a number of customers, went to a number of folks in enterprise IT in Fortune 1000 around the world. About half of the respondents were in the U.S. The remainder split between Europe and Asia. And we asked them a simple question. How many different types of storage are you using? Well, the results were interesting. About half were managing 10 or more storage types. About a third of them were more than 20 different types. Now, we had to look a little bit deeper into this data, and what we found was the older or the larger the company, the more storage types they had to manage. If it was a younger, or if it was a company with less employees, it was fewer. So we had to ask another question and dig a little bit deeper. We had to ask, okay, is it different storage types, or is it different storage types and different vendors? Well, it turned out no single respondent was less than 2. But what was interesting, about 2/3 of them were managing at least 3 to 9 different storage vendors within their infrastructure. Well, we all know that choice is great, but this is not an ice cream store, so having 31 flavors is not the goal here. This amount of storage that's getting deployed typically is a need or a demand within IT, but more importantly, the application manager who's worried about delivering a business or a function or an application to support a business, whether it's simultaneous number of users or transactions per second, are dedicating storage, or they're hoarding and making sure that they have storage availability. And it forces something that we refer to as over-provisioning in the cost of enterprise. This over-provisioning, we took a look at it from a 100,000 foot view. IDC tells us on a quarterly basis, give or take, over the last year and a half, about $10 billion worth of storage is sold every quarter. Most of the customers that we talk to over-provision, meaning there is unactive storage resources, there's about 3 to 5 times more than what they need. You translate that into dollars, that means that $4 to $8 billion worth of storage every quarter is being purchased and not being put to good use. That's our big picture view. We know there's lots of storage that's available within the enterprise and the data center. So how can we put this to good use? We think that if you're able to dynamically move data and put the information or the files in the right storage at the right time for an application, on demand and dynamically, that you could get the best economics at your data center and be the most responsive for your business. Anyone who knows me, I love car analogies, and so we had to figure out a new analogy so we could actually explain the benefits of this data mobility and not having to change your application midstream or make it disruptive. So let's say we're doing the Gumball Rally and we have to go pick a car. And our choice is, do we take the fastest possible car? It's 0 to 60 is under 3 seconds. Its gas mileage is probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 5 to 6 miles per gallon. We have a limited amount of funds, but we know we have to go from the East Coast to the West Coast. Or we can take a different view. We can take the long hauler, never have to stop for gas. Fill it up once, bring it across with as many folks in our party as we want to gather at the finish line. Or let's say we don't want to do the investment in a car. We want to Uber it. We don't have to drive. We can kick back in the rear seats, have a good time. A bit of a cost, but it's almost like storage in which we use the resources in the cloud. Could be cheap, could be flexible. It's on demand when we decide we want it or not. This kind of view, when we take it to the application of primary data, is how we use virtualization of the data in this enterprise space such that primary data will look at any application unchanged and present a logical view so that we can actually manage the physical storage underneath, no matter what type or what protocol. That's our value proposition, that's our value add, and that's how we get our traction within the marketplace itself. From a top view, our benefits that come from dynamic data mobility includes allowing us to eliminate as much over-provisioning as necessary. You could take it down to 0, but you want to have the ability to move data from storage to storage device, depending on what the needs are in real time. We can increase performance of a single application without having to dedicate specific storage to make that happen. Simple example. Let's say it's a classic Fortune 100 company. You've running your back-end ERP. You want to do your end-of-the-month sales tickets or figure out how much you got to order for the next day. Do you want to do some number crunching in a single day at the end of the month and know where to go for the next month or the next quarter? You can either dedicate resources to get that done. That means that 29 days out of the 30 or 3 months minus 1 day out of the quarter, that equipment's sitting idle. Why not take and move that data to that storage, crunch all the numbers, move it back off so that another application has accessibility to it. No more vendor lock-in. You can bring in pretty much any vendor you want, sitting next to existing storage that you have, or same vendor, but it's different storage type. Take, for an example of having a SAN sitting next to an all-flash array. Could be different vendors, could be the same vendor. You want to move data? It could be data migration, or it could be maintenance or upgrades of firmware and so forth on those storage arrays. You now can seamlessly move data off. It can be destructive upgrades for those storage devices, and we all know who we're talking about. These are challenges that IT is faced with all the time. You can do so without interrupting the application and not have to spend 1 year in swing boxes to make this stuff happen. If it comes to seamlessly integrating an archival solution such that you can take files that are effectively cold and not being utilized and push it to lower cost storage solutions, you can do so seamlessly, not disrupting that app. If that app does get active, let's say a year later, those files can migrate back into a store, objectively driven in an automated fashion. It's completely seamless.